on a Saturday night, but I am a business, social media, and media coach. And if you're looking to show up on social media with a purpose, I have a course for you. Have you been struggling as an entrepreneur, trying to figure out how to get people to engage, how to get people to buy, how to get people just to see you on social media? I have just a course for you. Please go to ShellyShowWilliams.com to find out more.
WGFB-FM radio.
So are you ready?
Yeah. How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
Yo, what's good? This is Tracy Lee, and you already know I gets down with the get down, man. Grown Folks Radio all day.
Hi, everybody. This is Cinda Williams, and I am the co-host of the Melanated Morning Show and the host of the PPC Radio Show. And you are listening to Grown Folks Radio.
It's the PPC Radio Show. Hosted by Cinda Williams and co-hosted by Shelly Williams. Music by All Night Long. DJ Joe Storm on the Grown Folks Radio.
PPC, 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 yeah. PPC, 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 yeah. Join me so we can work together. Conversation, get that healing. Let them know what they're missing. Share with your best friend. Tell them come hear this, yeah. And wish your blessings, powerful lessons, true confessions, yeah. PPC, yeah. A power tool for you and me. PPC, yeah. A power tool for you and me. PPC,
All right, welcome to the PPC Radio Show again. Thank you so much. Are we doing Facebook today?
We're live on Facebook. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now.
Okay, cool. All right, well, I'll have to share while Craig is joining us today. Today's theme is adaptability. We have a full show with that conversation. What do you think, Shelley?
Adaptability. It can be good.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm adaptable.
Yeah. I think you gotta be, right. You gotta go with the way things are. I think right now the world is changing, and with humanity so quickly and so fast. It's evolving so quickly that some people that are having issues with change are having a hard time with, like, for instance, the Dr. Seuss book thing, that people were tripping about.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were tripping so hard about a private company making a decision that they felt that Dr. Seuss's books that had these negative images of different people wasn't right. And so they took it off and whatever, and people were calling it cancel culture, but it was a private decision by a private company. And I just think that change is happening so fast that people are tripping about it. But we got to.
And the thing is, we also have to maintain a clear idea where the narrative's coming from on that. I think that when you look at those books and you see the imagery, it's like they made the right decision. I mean, some of that stuff is just, it's kind of gross, really.
Yeah.
But then you've got some people who are throwing that and making it, it's the Democrats who are doing that's ridiculous.
Right.
They made a business decision that's actually going to be good for them. So yeah,
people don't get whole stories. They never get the whole story. They get the pieces. What they saw the sound bites. People get the sound bites and make decisions based on the sound bites, and they don't know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So Craig, we're going to deal with this. I mean, obviously we can talk about more than one thing, but I thought it would be interesting to talk about this whole rebuilding your financial life after a divorce. I know that I've dealt with that more times than I'd like to mention. But it's a very daunting thing after you've split everything that you own. You don't own the house anymore. You don't own, you've got debt from the relationship, and all of a sudden you're on your own and you got to rebuild. So what say you about this?
Let's talk about that, because it's a fantastic subject that affects every human being in the United States in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to be really clear about stuff. So as a financial specialist, there are certain pieces of advice that I always give to people. The number one piece of advice I always give to people is marry the right person. Seriously,
Okay.
because if you get divorced or you marry the wrong person, it can set you back financially by 10, 15 years. And right? Yeah. And we're talking about people my age, I'm 61, Cinda, you're like 25.
Mm-hmm.
Shell, you're like 23, but still. You like that, DJ? But yeah, that's the number one piece of advice, because if you marry the wrong person, somebody who doesn't have values that align with yours, somebody that you can't spend your life with dreaming and achieving, ultimately that marriage is going to come to an end. And when you tear everything apart like that, it is a huge, huge detriment to your financial health. And financial health is something that is very important to all of us, whether we realize it or not. They say having money doesn't make you any happier, but it sure does making being miserable a lot easier. DJ likes that one too. So we want to make sure that we do this the right way. And women have it even worse than men do. And why is that? Because women, they're out of the workforce longer, they're raising families, they might be taking care of aging parents. When they're not working, they're not putting money into Social Security. When they're not working, they don't have the ability to put money into a 401k plan and get matching money. Who lives longer, men or women? Women do, right? Mm-hmm. So by virtue of the fact that women are out of the workforce more, saving less because of that, and they live longer, that means women have a much bigger and daunting task ahead of them if there's a divorce in their future. So it's really important, ladies, to look at the romantic partners that you're letting yourself be involved with and asking yourself, is this literally what I need to live the life that I want? DJ's on fire today.
Wait a minute, because you're dropping bombs. You're dropping these bombs. Listen, when you talk the relationship there, are you with the one? Woo.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's every person in our life has a season or reason or whatever, right? So some people come into our life for a reason, some people come into our life for a season, and some people are involved in our life for the rest of our life. We have to figure out where we are as well. I mean, if you're just recently single, you're not going to want to jump into a marriage again. You need to figure out yourself. You need to figure out the people that you're spending time with. And oftentimes when you're dating, you're just, you're dating, and you have to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And it takes time. Wow.
Listen, relationship, when you talk about relationships and money, I can understand.
Relationships and money go like this all the time. When you're involved with somebody.
Is it like this, or is it sometimes like this, and that's the problem?
Oh, that is a problem. If your relationship is like this, you're doing it right. But if you're doing this and you can't make it work, then you have to figure it out. You have to have a conversation with your partner. I just had a conversation with somebody last week about their financial situation. And after reviewing all of their finances, it became very clear that they're not making enough money. And one of them was going to have to work more. And the reaction I got was, "Oh, that ain't going to happen." And I was like, "But you want to travel in retirement, and you don't want to live in a trailer when you're retired. So guess what? You have to work at it now. Otherwise, when you get to be 65, you're not going to want to be on your feet all day working. You have to do it now. And that was a conversation. It was a hard conversation that I had to have with a husband and wife. TJ, you're on fire, man. But that was a hard conversation. I felt like I was the bad guy, but I wasn't. I was giving them the cold hard truth, and sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind, and you have to do it in a way. There's an old saying, say what you mean what you say, don't say it mean. And as a financial person, that's what I'm often faced with couples, where you've got one person who realizes, oh my gosh, we need to be doing more. And then you've got the other person in the relationship saying, well, I'm okay with the way things are. And that is a source of conflict. Money issues oftentimes result in divorce.
So what about that prenuptial agreement? Are we pushing those, or even if you have no money, should you be pushing a prenuptial agreement?
That's an individual thing. I always feel like the answer is always, it depends. Let's take a look at your situation. Let's see what you're trying to accomplish. If somebody comes into a relationship with $10 million and the other person comes into the relationship with $1,000, you might want to look at a prenup. Just saying,
Back. When
right?
you come in with that $10 million, you ain't getting my money.
Well, there's a reason why somebody has a lot of money. And there's another reason why somebody doesn't have any money, right? And usually that comes down to personal habits and priorities and values. And, looking at those types of things in that manner pretty much says that we have really different ideas as to the way things work.
Okay, so say somebody didn't make the right choice and about who they were going to marry, and they got a divorce. Steps to take. What do you do? What is your advice to the woman that comes to you? She hasn't worked. She's been at home taking care of things, but now all of a sudden she's got to start over. She helped her husband through college and has been supporting his career, and now she's got to get a job and she's got to start over. What do you say to someone like that?
Yeah, that is and that's exceedingly common when it comes to women, where they are, their whole life, they were homemakers raising a family, and they were always like, oh, my husband's so good with money. I'm just going to let him handle everything. I don't need to worry about that. And then they get divorced, or worse, the husband passes away, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, that woman has literally no idea what she is doing. And she's susceptible to being preyed upon by people who are unscrupulous, which is really another big issue. We talked about that last week with elder care, but it's the exact same thing with women who don't know what they need to do. And then they could have a little bit of money, but they might make mistakes with it, and all of a sudden that money's gone. So here's what I always tell women: never depend on a man for your money, ever. Mm-hmm. Depend on yourself. If you find the right guy who's going to be with you forever, and you can dream together and plan together and achieve together, God bless. That's ultimately what we all want, right? Mm-hmm. But when it comes to those types of things, the very first thing that a woman has to do is she has to take care of her health. Because without her health, she cannot re-educate herself. Without her health, she cannot go to work and collect a paycheck. Am I right, DJ, or what? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the first thing that a divorced woman needs to do is she needs to ask herself the hard questions. What can I do? Mm-hmm. If the answer is nothing, well, then the next logical step is to educate yourself. Without the proper education in a trade or in a field, you will not have the ability to earn beyond a low-paying job. Mm-hmm. And as we all know, how many people in this country are stuck in a cycle of having to work 2 minimum wage jobs just to have the bare ends of their life meet? Mm-hmm. So it's really important. Now, when it comes to education for women, especially if you've got nothing, we want you to understand this. You have options. Don't feel like the door is shut in your face, because it's literally not true. Right now is one of the best times ever to be a college student, because there are so many courses now that are online that are low cost or free. You can actually go to Ivy League schools for low cost because they do it entirely online. And that can allow you to once you educate yourself, that can allow you to open up your horizons financially. So the first thing I would tell anybody who's getting divorced is to look at their education and look at where they're going to land once they have to start paying their own bills. Honestly, $15 an hour, it's not enough. And right now we're at what, $7.25 an hour?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, in the Chicago area where I'm at, you need to be making about $25 an hour just to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. That's not even buying a house. That's just living on your own in a 2-bedroom apartment. Many women who are divorced, they need more than 2 bedrooms because there's kids involved or whatever, right? So what jobs are out there that can allow you to make that kind of money? They exist. And did you have any questions about that?
About finding the jobs that do exist? I mean, we're in a world that people are saying there are no jobs. I mean, I do know that there are jobs, but you can
there's absolutely jobs. And now that we're coming out of the pandemic, they're going to be more and more. But what we need to look at really clearly is what jobs in 5 years are no longer going to exist. And what jobs in 5 years are going to be the jobs that are exploding in popularity or necessity. So you need to look no further than where is our economy on fire right now, and where is it kind of like going obsolete. So when you look at our economy right now, what are the kinds of jobs that might be going away? What do you think, ladies?
I was going to say, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want that to go. I was going to say the post office, but that's not.
Post office actually pays a living wage. So if you can get a job at a post office, that's really not so bad. Post office is never going to go away. We all know what was really going on with the post office before, and I'm hoping that changes now that we have a new administration. But let's look at the jobs that are in dire straits, right? Low-paying jobs. You go to McDonald's. I went to McDonald's on accident a few weeks ago, and I'm 61. I can't eat that stuff anymore. But where did I place my order? What do you think took my order?
The kiosk, right?
Kiosk.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be a human being. Mm-hmm. So that kiosk is now taking my order. So that person who once took my order doesn't have a job anymore. And that's happening across the country with those types of jobs. However, that kiosk, it needs to be set up. Mm-hmm. It needs to be maintained. It needs to be replaced. It needs to be designed. It needs to be programmed. Those are all jobs that are replacing the low-paying job. But guess what? If you repair a kiosk or a robot or whatever, that's skilled labor. How much more money do you think you would make if you're able to repair a robot or a kiosk versus taking somebody's order?
A whole lot more. Mm-hmm.
A whole lot more. So it's really important to understand what jobs are coming and what jobs are going. Oh, there's DJ again. Here's another one. Not long ago, one of the biggest jobs that women held was that of a travel agent, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There were travel agents everywhere, and they tended to be women. What happened to travel agency jobs? What happened to travel agencies, period?
Travelocity and such.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
but during COVID,
jobs,
they all lost their job. During COVID, most of them couldn't do travel agency. They couldn't do it.
Right. But let's talk pre-COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-COVID, travel agencies were being replaced left and right by travel apps. Mm-hmm. Airlines had them, hotels have them, car rental companies have them. You're making a face, Shell. Talk to me.
No, when you say that, I understand that those apps existed, but somehow the travel agency boom, like the I don't want to call it multi-level marketing, the network marketing became really big with travel agents. It became like the big thing. Like they were popping up everywhere. They were making money.
Are you talking about brick and mortar travel agencies that you would walk into from the street?
Not brick and mortar. I'm talking.
What are you talking about?
The multi-level marketing kind, the network marketing kind, the kind that everybody says, hey, become a travel agent. And I know a lot of people that were doing it right before COVID, it was floating. And
So was it virtual?
Virtual.
There you go. That's my answer. So all of the travel agencies that existed in brick and mortar, they don't exist anymore, do they? Very rare do you find a travel agency that is a storefront. It's all virtual. However, they are all run by applications and programs. Well, guess who has to make those? Guess who has to make the program that you use on your phone? Somebody who is skilled in being able to program apps. Oh, I'm on fire today.
So let me ask you, Craig, because honestly, not everybody has that kind of mindset. I mean, okay, like for instance, I'm gonna just use myself. When it came to math and electronics and any of that crap, it was like, huh? What? German language. So a person that does not have that kind of skill set or even think that way, maybe the youth are more geared towards that, the millennials and the Gen Zs and all of those, because they've grown up with technology. So, but a person like me, man, I'm trying to figure out how to use Zoom.
Okay, let me address that then. So one of the things as a financial advisor, a lot of my conversations have turned toward what do you do to earn money? Because that is a kissing cousin of what I do, right? You don't earn money if you don't have money. There's nothing I can do for you.
Right.
So what we have to look at is the strengths of every single person that we talk to. So Cinda, Shell, you're both communicators. Your strength lies in communication. It lies in writing. It lies in language. It lies in probably marketing, maybe PR, things like that. If you go online and you look, I'm a communicator. That's what I do. But I'm in the financial business. If you can combine communicating with the financial business and you can find a passion for it, there are tons of jobs available. They exist. Now, for me, I never, ever saw myself in the financial business as a young person. I was in the military. I was very active. I was in bands. I was in shows. I was an actor. I did all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, the real way that I made money is I said to myself, I am a communicator. I am going to start a PR agency. I'm going to start an advertising agency. And I'm going to teach myself the things that I need to know in order to do that. What did that involve? You can go on YouTube and learn how to use Photoshop. You can learn how to use InDesign. You can go on and learn how to do Adobe Acrobat. All of those things, they allow you to acquire the skills that you need in order to make way more money than you would earn by taking orders at the local Taco Bell or by being a retail person at Kohl's or whatever it is. So there are ways for us we have to look at ourselves objectively. I look at myself objectively and I would say I would never, ever, ever be an app designer. I can't, it doesn't interest me. I don't want it. I don't even care. But what I do care about is communicating with you, your audience, and helping people achieve their financial goals. Literally everybody can do it if we're willing to look at ourselves objectively and say, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, and I'm going to cater to the things that I can do that will offer me and the people I love a better life.
But you talk a lot about employment. I'm an advocate for entrepreneurship. So how do you help someone like that? I mean, I know they're getting out of a marriage and they may not have money, or maybe they put some money to the side and they want to start their business. How do you help them do that?
Well,
as
again,
opposed to looking towards, I got to get a job.
Okay, yeah. So entrepreneurship, what is it that you want to be an entrepreneur in? I mean, literally the horizon is as wide as you can look with entrepreneurship. You can do anything. I was an entrepreneur when I started my business as a boutique PR advertising agency. You do the same thing, Shell. But we have to ask ourselves, what is our passion? If our passion is being what you're doing with online marketing, you're being an entrepreneur, you looked at yourself, were you honest with yourself? Of course you were.
Yeah.
Absolutely you were. But as an entrepreneur, would you go in and say, you know what, as an entrepreneur, I want to go in and I want to be installing solar panels. That's not you, right? But it could be somebody. It could be somebody who says, I have a passion for renewable energy, and I want to learn what it takes to put in solar panels and home batteries and wind generators or whatever it is. I'm going to learn everything about that. It's all about education. Without that, without looking at yourself and saying, this is where I want to go, you have to have that starting place, and then you're going to get to that end place. The space in between is educating yourself in your chosen field, in the thing that you're passionate about.
And
everybody can do it.
And it all comes back to what the theme is: adapting, changing, being able to change and make a decision. My cousin Diane, we've got a lot of comments, by the way. Thank you, everyone that's commenting. I didn't want to interrupt, but I do want to say, like Diane, my cousin said, you can learn financial literacy no matter how old. I mean, I'm adding that, investing, and you can get paid to do it, right? You can, there are different people like Craig has expertise at this, and he didn't start off doing this. My cousin Diane didn't start off doing this. She did a whole bunch of other things. And so now she's getting paid by teaching people these very things. Mike says, education is key, sustainability. Javette says, market research. Sherry, hi babe, my cousin, and everybody has a comment, and they're saying thank you for making us think about these things, because when you first get a divorce, especially if your life has been something else, you are so overwhelmed with all of the changes. It is very, very overwhelming, and these are some great tools to get us started. I think we're going to have to do a show. I'm going to have to schedule it where it's just you, Craig, and maybe I'll have my cousin Diane on, because she's also into this, and we can just talk about this stuff for the whole time, because a half an hour is not enough time. But we are at our break moment, and when we come back, we're going to invite our guest who has some personal experience with having to adapt in everything that we're talking about. Her name is Lavelle Smith Hall, and she is the CEO of Mom Logics and the CEO of her family, baby. She is bad. So she's going to join us after the break.
It's the PPC Radio Show, hosted by Cinda Williams and co-hosted by Shelly Williams. Music by All Night Long. DJ Joe Storm on the Grown Folks Radio. Grown Folks Radio. WGFB-FM Radio.
So are you ready?
Yeah. How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
For the health and safety of our guests and team members, we're here for you. That means frequently deep cleaning our stores and wiping down carts and baskets after each use, reserving dedicated shopping hours for our most vulnerable guests, providing masks and gloves to our team members, and offering contactless shopping options through the Target app.
Yeah, but you know, at Facebook, we are still here while we're waiting for our guest, Lavelle Smith Hall. But that's crazy when you think about it. We're talking about divorce, but you know, I've never married or divorced, but I've lived with someone, and I think it's the same. It's kind of like the same thing. We had a house. We're living in a house together, and then when it was over, he was the primary breadwinner, and he just left finances. I had to apply for bankruptcy. I was an entrepreneur. Always been an entrepreneur. The TV station I was on was just sold. So that means I had no income. So that's why I had to file for bankruptcy. So it works the same way. It might not have been a divorce. It felt like a divorce.
For all intents and purposes, that's what it was. I mean, really.
Yeah, it felt like.
Yeah. You know, the other interesting thing is people don't like to change, period. They don't like change. People are very rigid. And the whole adaptability thing, that's an educated thing. People need to be educated in how to control their mind and their actions. And it doesn't just happen organically. People have to show them. You have to have mentors. You have to have people in your life who help you understand that. I think there was a huge issue in, if you look at Appalachia, the one with Hillary and Trump. Hillary Clinton went into West Virginia, coal country, Kentucky, and said, hey, you guys, you have to realize your jobs are going away. Coal is going away. And we have to re-educate everybody. We want to re-educate everybody in wind power, solar energy, things like that. But the message was flawed. The only thing those people heard was, I am taking your job and livelihood away. Mm-hmm. They did not hear, I want to re-educate. Oh, here we go. Right.
WGFB-FM radio.
So are you ready?
Yeah. How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
Yo, what's good? This is Tracy Lee, and you already know I gets down with the get down, man. Grown Folks Radio all day.
Hi, everybody. This is Cinda Williams, and I am the co-host of the Melanated Morning Show and the host of the PPC Radio Show. And you are listening to Grown Folks Radio.
It's the PPC Radio Show. Hosted by Cinda Williams and co-hosted by Shelly Williams. Music by All Night Long. DJ Joe Storm on the Grown Folks Radio.
All right, welcome back, and we are so excited to have our beautiful guest, Lavelle Smith Hall, join us now. Take yourself off mute, love.
Yeah, I'm here.
I don't know if you could hear what we were talking about, but we were talking about adapting after divorce when it comes to our financial lives. Mm-hmm. I know that I had to when I was getting a divorce from Sophia's dad. Mm-hmm. I was an actress all the way up to I had Sophia and beyond, and then I stayed home and raised her, and then we got a divorce, and it was like, ooh, I can't just jump back into movies. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't work like that. You got to work to get back into, if you're lucky enough to, and so I had to do other things, and I know you know all about it. So tell us about you first. I mean, some people have heard the podcast, some people haven't. Introduce yourself.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Linda. And good afternoon, everybody. I love amazing energy, and you are always bringing it. So where do I start? I love the piece about the divorce. That is my experience. But just to kind of take you back a little, I am a Brooklyn girl who has been living in Chicago for over 20 years now. I have two amazing children. My son, Alec, just turned 21, actually March 1st. And today is my mom's birthday. So happy heavenly birthday, mommy.
Yeah.
Yay. And so it's St. Patrick's Day. So she is a Patricia for all you St. Patty's birthday loves out there. And so I was born and raised in Brooklyn. I raised my two children here. My daughter is Braylon. She is 14. She is a freshman in high school. So that is right now, the focus of us all being shut in. It's like, how do you shift and realign with some of those relationships you have? So pre-pandemic, everybody was running and going. And now it's really been a great time to have us close and more settled. So that's been really good for us the last year or so. Aside from that, I am newly divorced. I have been divorced a couple of years now, too. I am living after divorce and thriving. It is not an easy journey for everybody, but for me, it has been just rediscovering, resetting. Prior to even the divorce, I was a stay-at-home mom. I was as I call it, a CEO wife and a chief mom of Alec and Braylon. But I needed to figure out how to get back to me. And of course, live after divorce. How do I go back to earning a living? How do I make sure that I can still provide for my children? How can I still do the things that I want to do? And so I took all of my experience from after college in my working experience. And then I went and got a master's in creative writing. And I took all of that and some recent certifications like emotional intelligence consultant and mental health coaching. And I packaged it all up. And I am now officially a personal growth consultant. And I specialize in emotional intelligence, which we all need. That's like my superpower. And also mental health coaching. And I work with people and businesses. And I'm also the founder and chief mom of Mom Logics. And so that is my newest baby. And I really focus on the Black mom and helping her be the best mom she could be. So we have strategies and trainings. We're about to roll out our digital framework. It's called the 4 Pillars of Parenting Success. And we allow moms to tap into 4 specific areas: parenting and education, health and wellness, money and financial literacy, and entrepreneurship. So I have a team of moms that I work with, and we are grinding. I got all these other things like, you know, you talked about. It's like, how do you rebound? How do you adapt? And that really has been a large part of what I've done since my early childhood in Brooklyn, all the way to now being here in Chicago.
So what you're saying, Lavelle, is everything that I was talking about. You once you got divorced, you already had your pigskin with a bachelor's, but you went out and you got your master's.
Yes.
You looked at what your strengths were.
Yes.
You did an honest evaluation of yourself and where you saw your fit into the world with your skills and what you wanted to accomplish as a human being, as a parent, and as a powerful woman. And you're making it happen for yourself. That is literally what I was talking about.
Yeah.
We have to be honest with ourselves with what our strengths are and what we can do to contribute to the world while also supporting and contributing to ourselves. And you did it. Hoo-yah.
Yeah. Thank you, Craig. I'm still doing it. I mean, in all fairness, some days it's a struggle, right? Because for 17 years, I knew this thing, right? I knew how to take care of my family, the home. I was like this house manager. I mean, I had it all. I was the resource mom in my community. And I just took what, you're right, had to do, I call it a professional landscape analysis. So I had to figure it out. Like, what are people asking me for? What are they coming to me for? What is it that not only am I good at, but what do I enjoy doing? It doesn't feel like work. But being an entrepreneur is a lot of work. It's also really lonely. And so I had to figure that out. And I'm a part of some amazing communities. One in particular is the Parentpreneur Foundation. So shout out to James Oliver for creating it. It is, and it has been a lifesaver. I have needed to find other moms and dads who were like me, because being a owner, right? A business owner is one thing, but then having children and then raising them, and now you're in the space of the pandemic, what can you do? And so I shared this with Cinda on a podcast. It's like, I had to go back to my roots. Honestly, I had to go back to Brooklyn. I had to figure out how to get really small and laser focus and cut out a lot of noise. And I had to focus on what was going to be best for me. And it's working. I feel like I'm getting my legs, you know, they don't see legs. I feel like I'm crawling. I'm doing some walking every once in a while. And in some lanes, I'm actually running. And so that feels good. It really does. It feels really good.
When I was in the military, we had a mantra, 3 words: improvise, adapt, and overcome. And that's what we all face as single people or as divorced people, or even when we're trying to figure out what our path is in life. We're going to have in our lives probably several careers, right? If I look at myself, if Cinda looks at herself, Shell, you, I was in the military for many years. I was in the Naval Special Forces. I was a medic. I was a creative director, artistic director of a theater company. I'm a movie director, and I'm in the financial business. I'm a financial specialist with Allstate. I've had 4 or 5 different careers because I'm old. And that's something that we all are going to have. There's always going to come a time where we have to be honest with ourselves and say, what's my next act? What am I going to do? And we've all been doing it to various degrees of success. But the mere fact that we sat down and objectively looked at our strengths and our weaknesses to determine what it is that we're going to do, that makes us all heroes. And we should all be proud of that.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things for me, and I think probably a lot of people, men and women, that have been in survival mode their entire adult life for the most part, you know what I mean? Hand to mouth, all of this, you know, and changing that to thriving mode. That is it's very, when you have a lack mentality, like I've had, you know, when you've been taught that all that matters is right now when it comes to money, and spend it when you get it, and don't save, and all this kind of stuff. That's a survival mode, and many people have not been taught this whole concept of thriving. Yeah. And living for beyond the moment, not only just living for yourself, but for the future generations. And we have entire cultures that have this, in like the Jewish culture, the Chinese culture. They're very much about that thriving mentality. And people of color, especially in this country, we have been on survival mode for so long that we're kind of like comfortable there and stuck there. And so platforms like this, and what you're doing, Lavelle, what you're doing, everyone in this group, is about changing that mentality. And I think that's the first step, is changing from the survival way of thinking to, and having faith in the fact that you're going to survive, and move on to that thriving. I don't know. What do you think about that, Shelley?
I was thinking that when you say what we were taught, a lot of us were taught to buy things. Like buy this pocketbook, buy this thing, as opposed to adopting some of Craig's things and saying invest it. Because you have to be honest, even though you went back to school, it took money. When you write a book, it takes money. When you're an entrepreneur, it takes a lot of money. So that whole thing of it doesn't take money. It takes money to do any of this. It's ludicrous to think you're not going to take money. We have to invest in ourselves. So we weren't taught to, instead of buying this food right now, let's buy this. Let's take this money and put it towards our business. Let's take this money and put it to this. Stop buying the prettiest pocketbooks and go to the thrift store. Go to this store. Or how about this? Just look average for a moment, because when you get the money,
impossible for you ladies.
But no, I hear what Shell is saying is which I love. It's well, one, to shift your mindset from that upbringing and conditioning is hard. But I also love the piece of investing in yourself. Like that's that ROI. What am I going to get? So if I am going to invest financially in this certification program, then how can I take that? Like, it's going to take time and it's going to take money to invest, because time you can't get back, right? But then you can get something back on the dollars you've invested in self. I don't think we also think about investing in self. And I'll say underscore, and Craig, if you agree, if you're going to, you're going to go through that divorce route, begin to do that process of investing before you sign the paper, so that you're in a position to start and hit the ground running. And so it's the ROI. I've invested in the mental health coaching. I invested in the emotional intelligence certification. I invested in really taking a look at my LinkedIn, even my professional landscape analysis, as I said, to see how am I going to show up in a new space, a market space where people see me valuable and they want to actually help me with that ROI and pay me for my services. So that I'm still in the midst of it, but it's beginning. I've been doing this work for several years, but I feel like it's now starting to pay off.
You know, it's interesting that you brought up the surviving thing, Cinda. There is something that I've recently, in the past couple of years, really put to work with people, and it's a lesson I learned when I was in counseling. So for men, if men who are listening, sometimes you realize that you don't have the tools you need to fix yourself, and you have to seek outside help, which I did. And what's really interesting is I discovered in my early 30s that my toolbox, all of the tools that I had in order to be who I am, were limited. So the tools that I had in my toolbox were the tools I needed to survive, like what Cinda was saying. But what I really needed was a toolbox that had tools in it to help me thrive. And reacquiring and retrofitting your toolbox to acquire the tools you need to thrive is exactly what Lavelle's talking about. It's taking an honest assessment of ourselves, who we are, what we're doing. And the real truth of the matter is that when we find ourselves in that limbo place between relationships, divorce, whatever, we have to be brutally honest with ourselves and say, what is it that I'm contributing to the failure of this, or this, or this? And when I did that, when I took that assessment of myself, I realized that those tools that I had for survival were not benefiting me as I sought to thrive. And I had to completely change everything about those tools. My core character also had to change because I was a naughty boy when I was younger, and that wasn't getting me where I needed to go.
Yeah.
So we have to be really clear-minded about what it is that we want to do. And even further, we have to be very clear about who we are as a human being. And if go ahead.
Craig, you know what? I'm sorry to cut you off. I didn't mean to do that, but I wanted to just share this. You talked about a toolbox, and then clarity. That could be a challenge for people, right? Especially if you said, these are the tools I had when I was in this space in my life, right? So as a married mom or a woman or a male, you have this set of tools that you need, and you go after them every time you need them. When things change and shifts happen and we got to pivot, whether it's a pandemic or, for me, the loss of my parents at a very young age, you're like standing around like, okay, I don't even know what I need. How do I fix this? I don't even know how to fix this. And so some of it is going to take others who you can reach out to and ask, how did you do that? Or, right, you start to search. Google is an amazing thing. I know as a personal growth consultant, it's a matter of just starting with where you are. What tools do you have? How have you used them in the past to fix this thing or to adjust to this thing? But adapting or thriving is shifting from the survival of, right, I'm just doing this thing every day, to how do I move and shift to the next level? You got to adapt. And so Cinda read that in my book, Adaptability, or the chapter 5.0. In order to survive, you have to adapt. Every creature has to be able to change if they're going to continue to exist. That's part of it. That's part of our life and our journey. What happens with most people, human creatures, is we get stuck. We don't have anybody to help with the clarity. We don't have anybody to help with the roadmap or the path. And the other thing I find in talking to a lot of my clients is they don't know what that next step is. And you know what I say? Just do something, right? A friend of mine recently said, the only wrong move is not to move. So do something. So that's what I did when I needed to make some decisions and I didn't necessarily know where to go. I just tried something. That looks good. That sounds good. Sounds like me. I'm going to do that. That didn't really fit. It didn't work. It's kind of like the same thing with the toolbox you talked about, Craig. Like, I'm going to try this thing and I'll see if I can unscrew it or screw it tight. No, that's not the right one. Let me get another one. And that's part of life. And that's part of the flexibility and adaptability that we need to have, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a loss, a death, loss of a job. Loss is huge, right? Or a new town. So we are adapting and having to adapt often. I feel like what Cinda is saying is they're surviving, thriving, but there's something in the middle. Like, you got to be able to adapt to get to that next level.
That is absolutely correct. It's interesting. When I did my assessment of myself, I realized that for many, many years, I was only using my survival tools. And when I looked at myself and I saw who I was, and I realized who I was, and I wasn't getting where I needed to go, it became very clear to me that those survival tools were actually a detriment to my thriving. So they served me at one point in my life, but they no longer served me. The other thing that I found that was absolutely huge in my transition from being on a kind of like on a mouse wheel in my life was I realized that I needed to change the people that I hung out with.
Yeah.
I tended to be the smartest person in the room. I'm not bragging. It just, but if anybody out there if you find yourself as always the smartest person in the room, you're hanging out with the wrong people. You need to change it up. And when I got a job in the financial world, I was mentored by literally the finest financial mind in the entire country. I was the dumbest person in the room, or so I thought, but I was able to absorb so much just by osmosis, just by being in their presence and listening and hearing and putting that stuff to work. So we need to ask ourselves, are the people, our personality is half of the people that we spend most of our time with. If they're the wrong people, that can be a huge detriment to us as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's change, and adapting is a daily thing, because things happen all the time that you don't expect. I mean, I know lately, I'd say the last 2 years, it's been one change after another. And I'm old enough now, it's finally getting to the point where I'm like treating it like a dance. Okay, life is my partner, and I'm not sure which way life is going to twirl me. And so instead of being afraid of that and running from that, I'm going with the moves that I'm led, and I'm trusting that life's not going to trip me too hard on my face. And if I do, I can still get up and make it a part of the move. And I think that the more folks can get with being comfortable with change, and that it's okay. Like, for instance, going out to the world, say they're trying to switch us over from gas and the different things that we've been used to, coal and all of this, and now changing over to wind and whatever, solar. And people are fighting it because it means that we have to change. But they don't want to change. But those very people that have been in those coal mines, if they just take some more classes and end up in the solar or whatever, they're not going to die from cancer from the lungs anymore.
And they're going to have a better paying job.
And they're going to have a much safer paying job. So it's learning to be excited, and it's a lot to ask to not be fearful. But fear can be a good thing if it's protecting you, but it's that survival thing. If it's holding you back from making moves forward because it's grown too big, this fear has grown beyond taking care of you, and now it's stopping you from movement, then that's when we have an issue. And if it's like my friend that doesn't want to stop smoking, well, this is who I am, and but that it causes cancer. When do you start making decisions beyond the old ones? I just think it's a road that we're all on right now in a big way all over this world.
I think Lavelle would agree with this. It's part of my financial teaching. So a lot of what I do as a financial specialist is I teach people about their own behaviors. And we have to realize that every single one of us, we're all subject to the nature-nurture part of our personality. 50% of it is nature, 50% is nurture. But one thing I would recommend to everybody who's listening is educate yourself on behavioral biases. My strength is in financial psychology, which also is closely related to behavioral psychology, and why we do the things that we do, that they may be inserted into us via our parents or the people that we're around, But also, we also know this. A lot of people, their very nature is sunny. Other people, their very nature is very kind of like dark and cloudy, because that's our nature. And we have to learn how to control those things. So there are several books that are out there on behavioral finance and behavioral psychology that I would highly recommend reading, because once you understand your own foibles through your psychology, that will enable you to make far better decisions for yourself, and also enable you to recognize the mistakes you may be making.
Yeah, I think a lot. And so, yes, I do agree, Craig, because what you're speaking about is a lot of the assessments that are out there, personality assessments, all types, right? And so even in the work that I do with my moms, I talk about the different types of parenting. There are different styles of parenting. You have all sorts of strength finders and Myers-Briggs that can help figure you out. But one of the things that I lead with in emotional intelligence is there are 4 domains, and the top 2 are you and the bottom 2 are others. But the top 2 are really important, and it's what Craig talked about, which is 1, the first most important domain is self-awareness. Who am I? How do I feel? What's happening with me? And sometimes we stop there. We may know I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm hurt, I'm bothered, I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed, right? Cinda mentioned I'm fearful. Fear is the greatest motivator. The other one is love, right? I could be loving. But where we don't go further, which is important, is to that second domain, which is now managing those reactions. So when I'm afraid, what happens, right? Do I cry? Do I crumble up in a ball and not want to leave or do anything? When I'm angry, do I shout it out and lash out at others? So those top 2 domains of emotional intelligence are really important. It speaks to who I am and then how am I going to show up in the world, right? The other 2 are about others, checking the room, situation awareness, and then managing relationships. It's like we don't live on an island by ourselves. So we have to get really good at both, all 4 domains, the top and the bottom. But in order to get to thriving, it starts with self. If we're going to be successful, it starts with self. You mentioned, Cinda, the cancer and the smoking, right? You know, they may have a fear of what is life going to look like if I don't take a cigarette. They're not thinking about the fear of death because that's other people. But that mindset shift, right? That false sense of belief that smoking is good or satisfying, and because it's an addiction, it can be, but it's shifting the mindset to think like, I need to now think about those other people, right? My why. If I'm able to stop, then I can do some things longer. I can love longer. I can experience my children, my grandchildren longer. So we have to shift it from whatever that one mindset is, or old school mindset or conditioning, to a new one and replacing it. And I use a lot of that. I use the one EI in all of my work that I do with parents, and also my trainings on the professional development, because it starts with self. And we can't get to thriving if we think that our entire lives revolves around others. Like, they didn't give me the job, why don't they leave me alone? Like we can tend, some people can get into that space of it's somebody else. But when we start with self and realize that we're in control, then we are so much more able and equipped, like that toolbox Craig talked about, to getting from surviving to thriving. Even at 5, from my earliest remember of one of my greatest losses, which was my uncle, all the way to my second mom and even others after, I've been able to go back into the toolbox for adapting, or I've been able to add new tools. And so my newest tool is emotional intelligence, and certainly the mental health coaching.
Awesome. And on that note, I think we're going to take a break because we're going to bring back a different perspective. Pastor Andre Mitchell is going to come to us with some biblical tools on and what the Bible says about how to adapt, and what he, as a pastor, from his point of view, believes we need to do to adapt. Shelley, we need to hear more from you, Miss Quiet Lady. She's been listening more. We've been talking over you, baby. We're gonna hear more from you after Pastor Andre has his say. We'll see you after the break. 3.5 minutes.
It's the PPC Radio Show, hosted by Cinda Williams and co-hosted by Shelley Williams. Music by All Night Long. DJ Joe Storm on the Grown Folks Radio. Grown Folks Radio. WGFB-FM Radio.
So are you ready?
How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey, Lavelle, this is a great conversation. Thank you.
Oh, yes, this is great. Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, wow. Is that a picture of him? Oh, no, he's there.
No, that's him.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Brand on is all exclusive and stuff.
Oh my goodness. He's got all the good stuff. I got to check into you. Like, give me all of that for the podcast readiness.
Yes.
I think he's a professional. You're muted though.
Yeah, you're muted, Andre.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great.
See you?
Nice
All right.
to see you, man. Thank you. How was your trip?
Trip was good.
Awesome.
Trip was good.
Awesome.
Other than one thing, it was colder out there than it was in Indiana.
Oh no. Oh
Yeah.
no, that sucks. That's surprising too about
Yeah.
Las Vegas. Cold. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, that's why you learn to adapt.
Yeah.
He's ready.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us. I know you've been running around, so I appreciate you. I'm gonna talk to you like soon about scheduling you because I think you're a great addition to our crew.
Yeah, look at you, just got upgraded.
Yeah.
That was fast.
Well, no,
That was fast, though.
you're smart. And Lavelle, shoot, I'm gonna have you on as a professional sometime too, because now that you're in this space where you're professionally helping people, this is, maybe you'll come on another time and be our guest professional like Andre is today.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I love your background, Andre. Like, what are you using?
Thank you. I'm using something called Ecamm, which allows me to import backgrounds into Zoom.
Oh, I think I've heard CAMM.
Yeah, ECAMM.
Yeah, I think I saw that. I didn't tap into it. So you're the first person I know that's used this platform. Do you like it?
I do.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
Mac. It's Mac specific though.
Yeah. So I have a Mac. Someone recommended it and I wrote it down. I remember writing it down, but I never got back to it. So yeah, I have to look at it.
Well, goodness knows I don't know anything about it.
WGFB-FM Radio.
So are you ready?
How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
Yo, what's good? This is Tracy Lee, and you already know I gets down with the get down, man. Grown Folks Radio all day.
Hi, everybody. This is Cinda Williams, and I am the co-host of the Melanated Morning Show and the host of the PPC Radio Show. And you are listening to Grown Folks Radio. Radio.
It's the PPC Radio Show. Hosted by Cinda Williams and co-hosted by Shelly Williams. Music by All Night Long. DJ Joe Storm on the Grown Folks Radio.
All right. Welcome back to the PPC Radio Show. Thank you so much. Facebook, you were along for what we were talking about in the middle. We have Pastor Andre Mitchell with us now. So happy that he's joining us. Please give us your treasures, sir.
Hello. It's good to see you. Good to join. Good to be a part. It's interesting. You asked me a question earlier that I made a mention to. So I just got back from Las Vegas, and the whole point. I'll give a background. So in 2020 was my 20th year anniversary, and we were scheduled to go to Paris and have a wedding vow renewal, and all that got axed because of the pandemic. So in 2021, we're going to go somewhere, and we decide we're going to go to Vegas with the family, and then it's cold out there. And so I decided I'm not going to let anything ruin my time, so I'm going to have to adapt. So coming from that, I got back Saturday night, and this past Sunday morning, I preached a message at my church talking about adapting and adjusting. not knowing the topic. Me and you had talked about coming on, and then when I seen the topic, I was like, this is just, this is just has to be a God thing. So I would like to throw up one graphic that I used for last Sunday. I like to make up my own acronyms. So I actually had an acronym that I made up for ADAPT, not for this program, just for Sunday service. And so I'm going to throw that up there real quick and check it out. It says avoiding the devil's attacks and pushing through.
Yeah.
That's what adapting means to me. And so a lot of times there are things that happen to us that just try to shake us, to knock us off of our square. But if we learn how to just avoid those things, not that they don't affect us, but not allowing them to steal your joy, not allowing things to just push you off your markers, but adapting and adjusting and learning how to go with the flow and not letting everything frustrate you. That is half of the battle. And even I believe it was Bruce Lee that said, be like water. If we can learn how to be flexible, we can learn how to flow and shift, then number one, people can't put us in a box. Our enemies can't put us in our box. And what I like to do is I like to frustrate the devil. He's trying to frustrate me, but let me frustrate him by never letting him see me sweat. Like, I'm sweating on the inside, but he don't have to know that.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with things that I may take to God later on. I may have to cry myself to sleep. But when I'm out there in the world and I'm putting on a smile, even through my mask. I want you to know I'm smiling even when I got a mask on. I want my eyes to smile. I want my walk to smile. I want my presence to smile, to say, yes, we've gone through hard times. Yes, we've come through things. Yes, we are all broken in different areas, but I don't have to function like I'm always broken, because I'm going to adapt and I'm going to adjust. So that's just my 2 cents. I'll kick it back to you to see where you want to take the conversation from there. But I just thought it was cool that the very thing that I preached on here, you guys are talking about.
It's funny the be like water. I love that metaphor, because water, it just moves with the wind. It moves with the flow. And at the same time, it's what causes corrosion and what changes the world around it with the slow, steady movement. Sometimes hard, sometimes whatever, but water moves. And if you're looking at it, it doesn't always look like it's changing anything, but it's changing the shape of our world all the time. I think that is the perfect metaphor for change, and changing and adapting in such a way that's easygoing and positive, for the most part. I mean, I believe you got to really be seriously, you can't fake it. Yeah. You got to find the belief inside to really believe this smile, and that's why that, we went back to that gratitude thing from last week. But yeah, I think that's wonderful that you were already prepared for this conversation.
Yeah.
But I wanted to also add to that. Is it Pastor Mitchell, or how do we appropriately?
Yes, I'm good with Andre, but Pastor Andre, it's fine. But
all right, Pastor Andre. So I wanted just to add this into, because he shared something about how we show up and the importance of, when life happens, it's going to come at us, how we show up and shift and adapt. The other thing I always like to be mindful of, right? And it's something that we said earlier with Craig, and that word of mindfulness and understanding who you are in self. And that's what I talk about, emotional intelligence. But the other thing is, it's like shaking the devil. I also believe in just putting out an enormous amount of energy. So Cinda knows this. When I show up, I don't show up at 100%. I do the work. And I'm sure you do, Pastor Andre, before you get out on that stage, or Craig, when you're presenting a show, I do all the work. So when I show up, it's 150, because it's somebody out there that's dragging. It's somebody out there that can't shake the devil. It's somebody out there that I believe that need some brightness. So I'm always intentional about being able to share that extra 50 I got so that we can walk out together and they can feel so much better about life, right? I believe that God gives us extra so that we can help others so that it balances things out, right? So sometimes when I'm low, you can bring me up, but I always intentionally show up with 150 so that I can spread it out.
Kind of like in the job description as a mentor, right?
Yeah.
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 But you know what? I think sometimes that people don't always have what you have. Like you said, you have to have that 150. I just taught my first workshop this week. I shifted and pivoted during the COVID and took a lot of classes. My first class, I didn't create my course. I chickened out, and I have to be transparent. I chickened out because of the fear on the other side of what if I fail? You know, because people see me as this person who does it all. But I was like, what if I fail? So I didn't create the course, even though I just paid money. I didn't create the course, but God gave me another chance. And the teacher said, hey, you didn't finish before. I'll let you take the course again. And this time he said, whoa, you're just blowing out the water. I already created my first course. I taught my first course. But in the moments right before it, I was a little cranky because I was like, oh my God, I was like really in fear. But I took a moment and I just took that moment and said, you know what? I know my why. My why is I will never want to be in a situation, in that COVID situation when you don't have money and I don't ever want to be in that situation again. So my why was I want to achieve everything that I set out to do. So I prayed a little bit beforehand and then I went in and crushed it. And they asked me, everyone said, I have 10 people I want to sign up for the next one. And I said, okay, I could have stopped. I could have stopped at that first one and said, no, I failed. Mm-hmm. But God gave me this thing. I guess I pivoted and adapted to what was next. It was like, you know what? God gave me another chance for this. He gave me, like, who does that? I mean, this class wasn't a cheap class. And he gave me another chance. So I believe, like you said, when you're invested in those courses, I invested in so many courses and I thought I failed, but I didn't fail. I just got a different choice. I got it. I adapted and it gave me a different, because now I'm different. Everything is different now. I feel different. Listen, I'm ready for the world. Look.
Javette Johnson says self-responsibility and accountability is so important. Self-awareness. We humans hold ourselves back most of the time. And she also says experience may hold us captive, fear, but being able to have another perception may assist us with giving up that detrimental belief system, being able to see the value of not holding on to something that may not be of value. So, you thought sometimes it's okay to fall. It's sometimes I think it's okay to not be, 150%. Sometimes you're just at 50%, and you got to give yourself a break when you are, and allow that other person like Lavelle to come in and say, here, I got 150. I'm going to pull you up, and forgive yourself for when things don't go the way you expect them to go. And then keep on moving, keep on moving with it.
Yeah, I just put that in there in the chat. Shelly, I love what you said. It's important for those that we get in front of, and I'm sure Pastor Andre can attest to this, to know that we are not perfect. That we are nervous and we are fearful and everything is not 150%. I don't want to express that. I just know that when I show up on a full stage, I work so hard, but I also share the story like you do, Shell, about what it took for me to get there. Because sometimes it's tunnel vision and not talking to anybody so that I can get it all together just for that moment. But I think storytelling is important. I think our journey is important. And I do believe that it helps others who feel like, yeah, you look like you got it all together, sis. I mean, Cinda, absolutely beautiful. Until she starts sharing her story, people would think she's got it all together like you, Shell. But it's a matter of us being authentic and showing up authentically and being transparent so that can happen in others.
We all fall down. Everybody falls down. But how we fall is our choice. Do you fall down or do you fall back? And what I made a decision to do is I'm 100% fall forward.
Yes.
Love it.
I like to add this back to the water analogy. The reason why the Dead Sea is the Dead Sea is it has many inlets, but no outlets. So it has things coming into it, but because it doesn't have anything flowing from it, it eventually dies. And our life is made to be given. So whatever talent you have, if you don't give it, or if you're fearful and you hold back, even if it is only 10%, you are the life for somebody. So sometimes you have to do things scared. You have to do things fearful. And God is so gracious to give us another chance, because I am a natural stutterer. So that does not work for doing what I do. And so
Are you running for president soon?
Yeah, maybe I should be like Biden and press through it. Or think about Biden, the many times that he ran for president and failed, and this time he comes and has the most votes of any other president. So that's a great example. Like, we are imperfect vessels, but our imperfection helps somebody else, because someone is always more broken than we are, and we are their healing. So we have to push ourselves out. And if we don't, we die from within. So our giving, it actually helps others, but it really helps us.
You know, Andre, it's funny. You said that you're giving. Like the last time we did I Am, right? You gave us a I am blessed, I am this. I have put it in my vision board. I printed it out, put it in my vision board, and you never know. And I have been using it. I am blessed, I am anointed. Just because you posted that, so I want that post you just posted, that one. I want that too. Could you send that over?
I will.
Because it really does. You never know how you're helping someone. That blessed my soul. I not only put it in my board, I gave it to some young kids, some teenagers, and they've been using it as well. So thank you for giving us that knowledge. People don't, you're right, you don't know. You don't know what you're doing for other people until they tell you. So I'm telling you, I appreciate you. And I need that other one too.
I thank you. Well, like, Cinda gave me this opportunity to come. She invited me on. And so what I'm giving to you is because of what she gave to me. It's just a ripple effect. So I keep getting on this water idea. It's a ripple effect. Money is called currency, but that comes from water. Currents. It's what flows in and what flows back. And that's how water is designed. It's designed to flow as a current. So when we give out into the universe, it comes back to us. So to anybody listening, that's why we adapt and fall forward, because whatever we do is not just for us, it's for the people coming behind us and after us and in front of us.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Craig, can you tell us, before we started the show, you gave us something from the military that you guys used to say that I thought was quite funny?
Yeah, so in the military, as in the financial business, we're very fond of acronyms. And the one that I was talking about was the 7P principle. Has anybody ever heard of the 7P principle before this?
No.
Pastor? You might want to try this with your sermon. Well, you might not. I don't know.
I'm game for a lot of things.
The 7P principle. Proper pre-planning prevents piss poor performance. Say that 3 times fast. It's true. It goes right in the line with the improvise, adapt, and overcome. By having a flexible attitude, the water analogy is perfect as well. Being able to adjust to any situation and realize that all of us as mentors, as leaders in our community, we can set an example not only by our actions, but through our words. And when people see us doing what it takes to be successful, they become inspired to do the same. And if a village idiot like me can become successful, anybody can do it. I'll tell you that right now.
I noticed you said that 7 P's once. Go ahead, say it again.
Proper pre-planning prevents piss poor performance. 7P principle. There you go.
Okay, you can send that to me, and then I'll send it to everybody else. Because I think that's a funny one. And
I got it. I think I got it though, Cinda.
Okay.
I don't know. Proper pre-planning prevents piss poor
Performance.
Performance. Oh, I got it.
All right,
Okay.
all right.
Yeah, I like
So it's that's the thing I think that a lot of people also don't think about is, okay, ladies, y'all know this term, mad money. Remember, grandmas always had their mad money,
Yes, yes.
right?
Yeah, we know that, man.
Just in case, right? I was never the smart enough to do that, but I remember hearing people talking about it, and that's that pre-planning thing too. I found that I don't know, I'm guessing that it's spirit in me. It's God's spirit in me that gives me the inclination and the instinct to start preparing for things. So many times in my life, when a change was coming, I didn't rationally know a change was coming, but all of a sudden, say, I started learning all this jazz music and I never really knew jazz. And then all of a sudden, I have a movie where I'm playing a jazz singer, or, things come to your spirit all the time. And I think it's important that you pay attention to these instinctual gifts. It's not just a random thing. I believe it's God saying, okay, you need to prepare. So if all of a sudden you get an inclination that you need to be a vegetarian, say that's your, then you should follow that instinct and start learning new recipes and whatever, and then you'll find out that meat was making you sick. I think that preparation starts with listening to yourself. My daughter, she's like, Mom, I just don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do. And I said, I want you to try to lie there and be quiet and ask the question, what do I love? What do I want to do? What do I love? And listen for the answers, because your spirit knows. And to me, that in a way is a kind of a preparation for change as it comes.
Can I have a question for Pastor Andre? And it's along the lines of what you just said, Cinda, because I'm a planner. Like everything I've planned, right? You come from a space where I came from growing up in Brooklyn, where there was a lot of uncertainty. And so as I got to be an adult, I wanted to control things. So planning helps with that. But then you have something, Pastor Andre, like COVID that happens. And the best planners could not have predicted this or shared it, even when it was coming, right? Because that didn't happen. So what do you feel is something we can wrap our minds around? Of course, with the theme being adaptability for the absolute unknown.
One of my best answers for that is to know nothing is wasted. I go back to, I like analogies. So I go back to the old Karate Kid movie where the guy was waxing on, waxing off, and painting the fence. And he's thinking this is mindless, this is useless. But then he gets in a situation where that stuff becomes instinctively to him. So even when we are hit with something that we don't understand, that preparation that we go through, a lot of times it builds stuff in us. And I like to say it builds intestinal fortitude, that when we get into something that we don't know how to navigate, we have something we can reach from within and pull out. And to me, what COVID did most, it put people in touch with who they were, because you were a lot of times forced to sit with yourself. You can't run here. You can't go here. You're forced to figure out, are you a good friend? Are you a good husband? But if you've been preparing it all along or planning for that, then you notice that you were able to navigate better than others were. So nothing is wasted that you're doing, that you're planning. Even when all your plans are thrown upside down, you'll find there's something in you that you can push forward and make something out of. For me, an example was about 2-3 years ago, I started pushing my church to go online with an older congregation. I took over my father's church, and I'm thinking these people are not going to see the importance of going online. But I just had a feeling like we need to do that. So we do that. And then the pandemic hits, and many churches are scrambling to be online, and we were already there, already prepared. And then I always knew that the level I was on wasn't good enough. So I was researching how to get better without having the money. And then there came a pandemic grant in my area for churches to buy new equipment to upgrade their live stream. I knew everything that I wanted because I had already been writing it down, looking at it. I just didn't have the money for it. And then here comes a $5,000 grant. And a lot of the stuff you see now was done with that. But there were other people that got the same opportunity and they didn't know what to purchase. They were confused. They missed the deadline because they hadn't put all that information in them. And I didn't know why I was putting that information in me. I just thought I was mindlessly dreaming, hoping one day I'd have the money. Well, the money showed up and I already had a plan. So your pre-planning is never wasted. That'd be my answer to that.
And that to me is that spirit I was talking about, how your spirit tells you just got to listen. It tells you how to prepare. It tells you what's coming so you can change. I have a question for you, Pastor Andre, from Barbara Hall Bryant. She says, what is your take on teaching finances in the church? They want you to tithe, but no one knows or is teaching about how to do it. And it says in the Bible, money is talked about so many times. What do you think about teaching finance to people through the church?
I think
that's when you invite me to come to the church. I'm just like,
hey, there we go. That's where we can work together. That's where you adapt and work together.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, let me answer it from a leader's perspective. You can't give things to people for the sole purpose of getting. So unfortunately, a lot of people have taught finances for the sole purpose of getting money to come into the church. You have to teach it from the aspect of getting something to people to help them, whether they give it to you or not. So Jesus taught it. So I look at it, we should teach it. Anything that grows up the individual. I look at it as a pie. We have a emotional slice, so emotion should be taught. We have a financial slice to our life, so that should be taught. We have spiritual slice to our life, so that should be taught. If you're walking around a half pie, then the leadership you're under is not doing a good job of growing you up. You should be a whole pie, and that includes every aspect that affects your life. And in this day and age, finances is important. So teaching it from the standpoint of how to keep it, how to save it, how to invest it, how to spend it. And if I teach you all that, then I can talk to you about how to give it. But what I've learned is that if I teach people all those other things, I don't have a problem with them giving, because you give to what you love. So if I teach you how to grow, develop, invest, save, then when I have a project that needs to be done, I don't have to beg and use a whole bunch of time to beat people up over why you're not doing, because people invest in what they love. And bringing someone in is important, because outside people have many times done better than the church. Everybody raises money. The Boy Scouts raise money. The Girl Scouts raise money. The PTO raises money. But the church has done it in such a dogmatic way that people don't want to be a part of it. So we've got to change, and we have to adapt.
DJ Kid Disco, did you want to say something?
You might have just hit something.
He's eating a wing.
Okay, all
I
right.
need him to share. He needs to share.
Right. Do a virtual share. What'd you say, Pastor Andre? Do a virtual share.
Yeah, right. I think that is so true, and it's so honest. I mean, there are principles and there are principles in life, in the universe, and that whole. I was talking to my daughter about this because she was like, Mom, I hate to spend money. I hate to spend money. And I was like, baby, you got to spend it to make it. It's a flow. It's a balance. It's a give. It's a take. It all works together. And if you're teaching, I think if you're teaching in the church about all aspects of it, I mean, there's a whole crew of very, very rich people that their whole concept is tithing changes their lives. You know what I'm saying? Tithing changes lives because you're working with that universal principle of give and take. And I think that's smart what you're talking about, Pastor. Instead of, okay, let me teach you how to make that money so you can give it to me. uh, giving people expertise so then they can make a decision. And I know from my experiences in church, I can't stand it when I go up in a church and it's the first thing I walk in and I'm getting browbeat because
Give
of
up their
some.
money. Give up their
Isn't that
money.
the worst? It's terrible.
Give it their money. But you know what? I think a lot of people in the church have this thing. They have that one scripture that says it's harder for a rich person to get to heaven than it is for a camel to get through the eye of the needle. So people have, I've heard people say, well, a matter of fact, somebody said this to me recently. You're always working. You're always trying to make money. I said, it's not about the money. But, and then they gave me that scripture. I said, that's not for me. That doesn't pertain to me. The rich person has a lot. There's those rich people who are going to try to hurt people. I'm trying to help people with what I do, but so they bring you that scripture. Why are you going after money? Because you're a Christian. Why are you going after money? So they're stuck in that one scripture about getting through the eye of a needle. So Pastor Andre, what do you say to people? Because I mean, that really, I didn't have much of a rebuttal, but maybe you have one that I could just say, see, now let me tell you this.
Well, for that there is, and this usually works for the Bible. People cherry pick scriptures, but when you do that, you take things out of context. So in that particular scripture, Jesus does make that statement, and then the disciples have a very interesting response. They say, well, then who then can be saved? Because the disciples, even though they were not like high profile money, but they were fishermen, they had business, so they had money. And then Jesus makes this statement. He said, with man, things are impossible, but with God, all things are impossible. So the point is, when a person trusts in their money, it's hard for them to get into the kingdom of God. But when the people have God and money, it makes all things possible. So it's totally different.
Man, and I needed one of those TJ Kid Disco boom on that one. Where was that boom on that one? Come on.
Yeah, spread the booms around. Come on, man.
I need that boom, boom.
All right, why don't we all do it together on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3. Boom!
Say it, Pastor Andre. That was good.
Well,
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I know, Andre, you must get this because I know a lot of pastors do. They get the people that have judgment. You dress beautifully. I love to look at your page on Instagram to see what suit you got on because you are so slick, and I love that. But I also know that there are people out there that judge a pastor for looking nice or driving a nice car or having a nice home, and it always seems like it's so unfair to me that you are judged that way, you know. And I think it goes back to what Shelley was talking about, that that making people feel guilt for having been smart with their money, or making, you work, you got a day job and you got a church. So this isn't like you getting rich off of people. You out there working, and you should be able to dress how you want to dress. I just, that always bothered me.
Yeah, I tell people that, and a lot of people give me kudos because I don't take a salary from my church. I've worked for General Motors 23 years, and so that's what I'm doing. But I asked them this question. I said, would you still give me those same kudos if I got my money from the church? Because I'm still valuable. Whatever I do is valuable. Just because I'm giving it away as a charity. There we go.
There we go.
doesn't make me, just because I'm giving away as a charity doesn't make me better than the person who is only doing it with his life, and he's getting it from the church. If COVID taught any of these pastors anything, is how important and valuable they are. When you sit beside someone's bed and you carry them through the dying process of their mother or their son. I've had people help people bury kids that overdosed. And those people are so grateful that they can't stop doing for you. I work, but I have people who just like try to put money in my hands. They're like, you've been so good to me. You've done this and done that. And you can't judge a person when people want to give to them. Now, if a person is, a shyster, that's a total different story. But when people pour their life out to you and others respond back financially, you don't have to have any shame in enjoying. And another thing that I'll throw in there, people love to judge you when they pick up your book on the 20th chapter. They forgot to read chapters 1 through 19.
Mm-hmm.
So in chapter 20, I have a house and I have a car and I'm going on vacations. And you want to judge me for that, but you didn't read chapter 1 when I was eating beans and tomatoes and pushing through for my vision.
I don't think we can do better than that. On that note, we have quite a few people. Let's start summing things up. Tell us, Lavelle, how can people find you, your books, your everything you're doing so they can support you?
Awesome. Yeah. So check me out on momlogics.com, and that's moms with an S. So MOMLOGICS. No, singular mom. Mom, singular, logics S. So MOMLOGICS.com or lavellesmithhall.com. You can find me there as well. I am on Facebook. I am on LinkedIn. You can find me at either of those places, and IG. All Lavelle Smith Hall. We have this synchronized. This has been awesome and amazing. And look for me when you check me out on, and you can also just send me a DM and let me know if I have an upcoming free webinar that I'm going to do on LinkedIn next Thursday. It's called Parenting Through the Lens of Emotional Intelligence. It's going to be next Thursday, March 25th at 7 p.m. Central. So if you can find me on LinkedIn, Lavelle Smith Hall, you can register, click my name. There's the information, register, and we can continue this conversation on emotional intelligence.
That's the bomb. All right, Pastor Andre, how can people reach you, or if they want to tie to your church or want to listen to your messages, which I am a testifier, can preach. You need to check them out. Okay, tell us how to do that.
I'll pay you later for that shout out. I'll throw a quick graphic up on the screen. That's me. Andre Mitchell Ministries is a one way to find me, andremitchell.com. But if you were to just go to social media, Rev Andre M, REVANDREM, and that gets you to my Instagram. I just got TikTok famous for a little while, so that gets you to my TikTok, my Facebook, all of that stuff. So that's the way you can stay connected with me. Now on my social media, I show my silly side. So if you're looking more for the professional side, you might have to go to andremitchell.com. But if you want to see my silly side, then Rev Andre M is the way to connect with me.
Awesome. I like all the sides. All right, Craig, CJ, please give our audience your digits.
That would be great. So Craig J. Engel, I am a financial specialist regionally with Allstate, helping people with all of their financial needs, getting them on track to achieve their goals, to get better tools in their toolbox and achieve financial security. You can call me. That's probably the best thing to do. I'm at 219-333-1460. Call me anytime. Also, on another bit of news, I'm sure we'll all be interested in this because Cinda has a big stake in this. I'm a film director and producer, and my latest feature film will be on Amazon probably within the next couple of weeks. And it is going to be getting international distribution probably within a month. So we're very excited about that. If you want to go online, you can find our movie. It's called The Misadventures of Mistress Maneater. It's a romantic comedy. Yeah. Our friend Cinda's in it, and she has a prominent role. We were really thrilled to create a lot of characters for people of color. And we felt it was something that we needed to do as our responsibility. My wife stars in it. I directed it and produced it. My wife wrote it and edited, and we're really excited about it. We've won numerous awards on the film festival circuit, and I think we're going to be making some real big splashes once it's out there to the world. So
It is hilarious, and I love his wife. So yeah, support it, support it.
Please
Shelly,
do.
Shelly, what's going on, lady?
Yeah, I'm just excited about everybody else. I am always here on Instagram, Shelly Show Williams, of course, ShellyShowWilliams.com. But my next class is March 29th, 7:30 p.m. It is all about repurposing your media content. 5 ways to repurpose it. And right now, as Grown Folks Radio, we are repurposing. So the same time we're on Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, as well as Instagram, because we're also on Instagram at this moment. So hey y'all, hey y'all.
Hey.
That's how we repurpose. But I teach all those strategies, and thank you to everybody that showed up and showed out for my first class. But anyway, that's me. Thank you.
All right, all right. And I want to say, first of all, thank you to everybody that's been with us today. I've been trying to keep up with your messages. Malik had a lot to say. You know, he's a pastor and he knows a lot about a lot. And Javette, my gosh, you're maybe we need to talk about you coming on the show sometime too, sister. Everybody that came on and commented and was a part of this with us, we love you and are so blessed by you sharing with us. Please, speaking of share this when I send you guys a link or I put it out there. It's every Wednesday, 2 to 4 Eastern. Please share, like, and tell your friends because we're trying to build something here so we can help our people. And I am so appreciative to everyone on this panel today. And Andre, like I said, I'm gonna call you so we can set you in.
Yeah. You have been upgraded, Pastor Andre.
I love a good upgrade.
Yeah, I gotta work with his busy schedule though. But as a reminder, the Melanated Morning Show comes on every day.
The Melanated Morning Show with DJ Kid Disco and co-host Cinda Williams.
That's a totally different kind of show that we have a lot of fun today. We had a wonderful time with two of my British brothers, Damian Swaby and Baz Facey. They came on and gave us the British perspective, and it was a wonderful show. So please join 10 to 12 every day, but I'm on there Wednesday and Thursday. And then Friday, PPC podcast drops, and I'm very excited. I have my buddy and old friend Cliff Booker coming on who hooked me up, gave me my hairstyle for Mo Better Blues.
Ooh.
And yeah, he's coming on. He's going to be on the podcast and coming on the radio show next week. He's also the one that created the Halle Berry look and the Wesley Snipes multiple looks. He's really special, a special person. It's called The Black Hippie. So I hope you guys check out the podcast Friday.
This is awesome.
Thank you. DJ Kid Disco, you got something to say before we go to our music mix from DJ Joe Storm? No? Hello?
More chicken wings. What are you going to do?
You still eating? Hey, okay, so that is it for today.
The Morning Show with DJ Kid Disco and co-host Cinda Williams.
Okay, I guess that's what he wanted to say. Okay, thank you, Facebook. We know you got to go because we can't play the music here, but if you want to listen in, go to www.thegrownfolksradio.com. Oh, his microphone froze. Do you have anything you want to say before we go to music? Maybe not. Okay, so we're going to go on and DJ Joe Storm's music mix. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
What's up, y'all? This